One, go.
Hello, welcome to this week's Maker Meeting from Workshop 88. Each week we explore projects that our members are working on and topics of interest to our Patreon subscribers. Our Makerspace workshop primarily serves the western suburbs of Chicago. Tonight is about the opportunity to interact with a community of makers that enhance their knowledge by sharing. If you see the value or have something to add, then you should become a member no matter where you live. Membership includes access to our Slack channels for even more discussions on a variety of topics. Tonight, we're going to start with Scott. Take it away, Scott.
Hey, I remembered to unmute myself. That's an accomplishment. So I've mentioned before, and I'm going to share a little bit tonight about a project I've been working on for the last few weeks. I need to find the share screen button, which is off of the second monitor. So, there we go. So if you guys are fans of Hackaday, you may have seen this. If you're not fans of Hackaday, you should really check out Hackaday. It's fun if you're into making. It's a really cool site. Anyway, so they have this contest, a basic 10-liner contest where you can write the best game in 10 lines or less of basic on the platform of your choice. And here's the website for the contest. And you can see that there's
You're not sharing. No.
Yeah, sorry about that. You know, Slack's a 2-click. I'm sorry. Yeah, Zoom is a 2-click share, which always trips me up. So we'll go back here and say and share Hackaday that I mentioned earlier and the basic 10-liner contest, which is here. The rules are initially in German, but they're in English later on the site. But we're not going to go through the rules. But basically, it's writing the best game you can in 10 lines of basic on the platform of your choice. And all the entries from previous years are listable here. It's really kind of cool to go through what they had. And I was wondering what I've got around or what I could do in basic. And I've got quite a background with Atari and Atari computers. It's how I started as a programmer as a kid. And this basic contest really just sort of got in my head. And I don't know if you can see the tabs here, but I've just got tons and tons of references to the old Atari platform. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, but I had to look up how to do it. What I decided to do was take some of the work I've done recently with the Mandelbrot set and create a Mandelbrot Explorer in 10 lines of Atari Basic. So this is what the program looks like. It's got my notes in it and stuff too. It's probably a little small for you to read. It's very, it's a little opaque in meaning that it would be hard to understand exactly what's going on from the surface of it. But I just wanted to show it is indeed in 10 lines, and none of them are more than 256 characters long. Actually, they're significantly less. Without teasing anymore, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and show you the running application. So I'm running it right now in an Atari emulator. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
And it's running it's running very fast right now. You can see it's unlimited. It's at 3,000 speed or 3,000% speed. If I run it in real time, you can see there's a little cursor that's dotting across here, and it's actually calculating the Mandelbrot set at that rate per pixel. So I wrote a multi-resolution renderer, which means that it starts with really big pixels, and then it kind of refines the image as it builds it. And all the while, it's doing this color cycling. And you can, I'm going to change areas here. You could zoom in or zoom out. I just hit the up button to zoom in. And you can kind of get an idea how the multi-resolution renderer works. And it's got, we didn't hear it, but it's got sound, and it just beeps when you hit the buttons and stuff. But I was really happy. You can explore 12 areas of the Mandelbrot set that are pre-programmed. They're really classic areas, most of them. And it it has 9 color cycling modes, and it was just like a really fun project just to see how much I could cram into those 10 lines. And if you're, I'll be entering the contest very soon because the deadline's coming up here. But one additional thing I did was I rendered a bunch of animated videos, 290 animated videos that are captured from this emulator. And I composited those together to make some deep Mandelbrot zooms. I'm going to stop sharing this and give you a tease. These are videos that I have. Oop, I keep moving the window. These are videos that I've rendered in the last couple of days. You can see this?
Yes, and now we're getting sound too.
Yeah, great. Oh, by the way, I found someone who makes chip tunes. The sound that you hear is music that was created on an Atari. So every pixel and every sound you hear is from Atari. And so, and here's a deep dive into a famous area on the Mandelbrot set called Elephant Valley. It just goes in and in and in. And if you really pay attention, you can see at the edges of the screen, the pixels get really fat. But because they're composited many layers deep, every half screen size and half again geometrically is another animated image. And it was a lot of work it was more work than I expected, honestly, to synchronize those videos, because they're here in this video. You can see these different colored rectangles. Each one of those is another depth into the Mandelbrot set at that location. And I used, I captured these videos, I exported them all to bitmaps using FFmpeg, and then I wrote a Python script that would synchronize these and call image magic to composite each frame, and then I use FFmpeg again to re-encode it. And the difficulty was that they didn't line up. The emulator doesn't run it doesn't run synchronously, so I actually had to open up all the bitmaps and do bitmap operations to compare frames to find the frames needed to synchronize it and stuff. It ended up being like 500 lines of Python just to generate these videos, and 2 batch files and a whole bunch of manual operations and stuff. Anyway, there's going to be 12 deep dives like this, and I'll probably do a separate project online later too. So we don't need to watch all of them. And I will not share the video clip, but I'll share the wrong desktop. Wait, which? Yeah. Let's try that again. There we go. So I am working on a blog post. This is the editing of the blog post, and it's really slow. Are you guys okay? You guys are moving. I wanted to make sure I wasn't frozen. Anyway, it's most of my blog posts are about 1,200 lines. This is already 4,000 lines long. It has an in-depth description of every command in every line of the program, and yeah, so I'm sorry, 4,000 words long. It's big, and I'm still working on it. So it's nothing that we'll go into in detail here, but if you're interested, and if some of it's necessary for the contest entry, and there's instructions for how to run this yourself if you're interested. And I shouldn't have done that. And I just wanted to let you know that's out there, and we'll be announcing it. So I don't know, it's been a really fun project for me. Are there any questions or anything?
It's a neat project. I was just curious, when you, I thought when you were describing the Hackaday contest, you said it was to write a game in 10 lines or less. Is this qualify as a game, or is it wider open than that?
There is actually a category called Shao or Look that is a demo, a tool, or an application. So there's another category for this. Good catch.
Is there a prize for each category? And if so, what's the prize?
I don't know. All I'm looking for is something fun to do and maybe a little publicity, some bragging rights. I'm really happy with the way this turned out.
I love that matrix there of the, the 12 of them all together just running. Like, that's very cool. I don't know. It's mesmerizing to me. So
Use it for your Zoom background.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will. Because this is the actively edited page, it's stopping and starting. But there's an interesting story about this image too. This was captured on a laptop I was using to record the videos. And I actually, because the Atari emulator, Atari 800 Win Plus, it's the one I've used forever, it only runs one instance. So I couldn't run multiple windows at a time, and you saw how long it takes. It could take 20 minutes to an hour to render just one scene, and there were 290 of them. So what I did was I created a whole bunch of virtual machines, and I ran it in a window on all these virtual machines. So this image was actually captured off of my Linux laptop. All of these are VirtualBox VMs running Windows XP in this emulator. And I used the application called Peek to just capture it as a GIF.
Very cool, Scott.
Thanks.
That's really neat.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right. So if anyone needs help with BASIC, I can help you out. Atari BASIC has a couple of foibles too. There's no binary operations, so no and, shift, or exclusive or, and they only have if then, no if then else, no end if. So with 10 lines, you only get a very few if statements, which really changed the way that I had to handle a lot of decision making in the program. Anyway, it's all on the blog.
very cool. Thank you. I'm actually looking forward to seeing the entry go up and all the diving into the details, and we may have to revisit this. So thanks.
Well, the blog and the videos are all going to link back to Workshop 88, and and hopefully we'll get a Hackaday mention. Fingers crossed if you're watching Hackaday. I do call them out right here in the article. Oh, I'm not sharing the screen anymore because that is appropriate credit for where I found out about the content.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Mace, you had something for us tonight?
Yeah, let me share the screen. This is a follow-up to the, can you see my cursor this time?
Yes.
Okay. This is a follow-up to my TinkerCAD presentation that I made a couple of presentations ago. Some time after that presentation of mine, I saw Scott hold something up to the camera, and it had some little logo on it. It might have been the Workshop 88 logo, I'm not sure, or his name or something, whatever it was. And I thought, oh, that's cool. You can sign the 3D parts, the parts that you 3D print. So I figured I want to show people how to do that in TinkerCAD, since there was a little bit of interest in using TinkerCAD. So the first step was I had to get myself a JPEG of the Workshop 88 logo, and somebody in the group sent it to me. Then I converted that JPEG to SVG. Converted the JPEG to SVG. I just used some website. You upload the file, you wait a second, and then you download the SVG. So what I now do in TinkerCAD, now that I've got an SVG of the logo that I want, or the image that I want, I am going to, let's see, I got to get things out of the way here. I'm going to import, choose a file. I can go down to my pictures directory. And somewhere in here, I've got the Workshop 88 logo outlined in now SVG format, however you decide to get there. It asks where do you want to put artboard art. I just click on the import, wait a second or two, and boom, there's the 3D part in TinkerCAD just from importing the SVG. It's huge, it covers the whole worksheet. So I'm going to select it, hold down the shift key as I drag the right-hand corner and shrink it down to something much more like what I'd like to work with in general terms. And I can drag it to the center just so you can see it. By the way, as you drag through, if you go too far, you can actually flip the image. I don't really want to do that. I just want to maybe make it this big, and that's fine. There's my logo. There's my starting point. Now, one of the things I didn't talk about, and one of the things that's really cool, is you can select the part, come down to the shapes library, click on it, scroll down, and there's a shapes collection. When you click on that, you can create your own shapes. You've got boxes and cylinders and stuff. Now I want to create a shape. That's the Workshop 88 logo. So type in correct shape. Workshop 88 logo. You can do a description. You can change the color if you want to. I'll just save it. And now I have that logo, or I will soon have that logo as a part that I can just drag out anytime I want to. Let me start with a clean workspace and show you how I might want to use this. Go back to the basic shapes. I'm going to drag out a wedge. I'm going to change the color. It's a little bit easier to see. If I swipe around here, rotate around, and I'm going to make this wedge wider because there's a couple of things I want to demonstrate. All right, so now we've got this wedge. I want to put the logo onto that wedge. I want to sign it. And there's a couple ways I can do that. First of all, I'm going to drag the work plane out and drop that work plane on this angled part of the wedge. That makes my ground, the base, at an angle. You can see that now. Then I can go to my custom shapes. Shape collection, drag out the logo, and when I drop it, come on, there it goes. It gets dropped at whatever that angle is. So it's going to be parallel to the face of the wedge. I'm going to do a copy and a paste, and I'm going to shoot this one over to the right a little bit. I'll drag this back in here. Now I'm just going to leave this one on the left alone. If we zoom in on it with the F command for fit, you can see it is in fact a slightly raised logo, a raised part sitting on the surface of the wedge. Hit the home button. Rotate it around again. I'm going to select this other one and turn it into a hole. Well, before I do that, before I turn it into a hole, I'm going to increase the thickness of it just a little bit. And then I'm going to turn that second one into a hole. And now I'm going to push that hole into the surface of the wedge just a little bit. I don't need a lot. I got to be careful that I don't actually pop out the other side. I'm going to get rid of the extra work plane. And now I've got three parts, the wedge and two logos, one that's raised and one that's sunken, and one that's a hole. I'm going to select all the parts with Command A. And let's see here. How I can't see. There we go. Select all the parts and then do a group. Wait a second while it figures out what it's got to do. Group all the parts together. Let's see if this works. No, didn't yet. Select them all. Group them, there we go. And now when I zoom in on these individual sections, you can see there's the embossed logo. And the other one on the right-hand side is actually pressed into the surface. So however you want to render your signature on your art piece, you can do that, either raised or as sunken. A couple other shapes that I've got, I have my own name. I ripped off the Nike logo. I don't need this anymore. Again, it just started as a JPEG, converted it to SVG, imported it, saved it as a custom part, and I can use it anytime I want to. Now, when I'm making Christmas decorations, I've got a Merry Christmas. I can stick that logo onto anything. Again, just dropping it onto the surface. That's it.
Mace, you make it look so easy.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
That's neat. That's
TinkerCAD
neat.
is for that level. You got to discover this stuff. It doesn't just fall out, and it's not always necessarily easy to discover it. But once you know, the actual mechanism is pretty easy.
That's very
You have
cool.
to- Yeah, you have to
That's
resist the
great.
desire to print just the logo because it won't stay together, Workshop 88. You have to put it on something or else the 80s.
Oh, well, that's correct. As it is, you can't just print the logo because it's all disconnected parts. But I was experimenting with that, adding some strategically placed connectors that connected all the holes and solid pieces together. And I was able to do it, but there wasn't any point in doing it any
Right.
further.
It's a better idea to just put it on something.
It's the easiest thing.
I needed to do something like that a while back. I was making something for somebody, and I found I could use. There are stencil fonts that have those connectors already built in. So if you find a stencil font, then you can make disconnected pieces like that.
Yeah, you can certainly do that.
Or push it into something like you do on the right hand one you did.
Yeah,
there,
I'm just saying
you know. if you can't do that, then a stencil font will let you have the disconnected pieces. But of course, if you put it on something or into something, then that works too.
And if you're clever with the Booleans, you'll end up with two models, and you can do that are exactly what you need for multi-color printing.
Oh.
Two or more models actually. So.
Yeah, one thing that you could do, let's say, let me get rid of a couple of these things. Go back to basic shapes, drag out a box, make it wide, make it deep, make it flat, change the color to white, put the logo on there, get a work plane to the top surface, drop so it comes to the right spot, get rid of the work plane. I don't know, let's change this to black. And we should actually be able to see that you can, if you printed the white flat surface first, you could throw on something that with the color that shines through. Again, this particular logo's got an issue because of all these freestanding spaces, but you can play around with and join them up together if you feel like it.
No, I mean if you subtract the Workshop 88 shape from the surface and you do another operation that's an intersection of the two, yeah, then you would have both pieces you need.
That's right.
This reminds me a little bit of that printer that was shared on the on Slack. Maybe it was a Hackaday post or whatever. The 5-axis dual head thing that Scott, you were saying it's more about skinning.
Those were two posts. One was a dual head and the other was a 5-axis.
But I thought one of them, the dual head swings down so that it did something. Maybe I didn't understand it as
No, the dual head was just had a pivoting head where both hot ends were on one head and it pivoted. raise one out of the way. The other one was it may have been a 4-axis printer, but there was an extra axis that allowed it to print underhangs, and that's a project that I just never was able to get enough time to contribute to. But I really wanted to make a 5-axis 3D printer. The slicer is the thing that would take all the time. It would have to be a skinner, not a slicer.
Okay.
Peeler.
Fair enough. Cool. Well, that's another TinkerCAD trick that I probably hadn't thought about. So thanks for sharing. Very cool.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks, Mace.
Here.
All right, Bob, you had something you wanted to share?
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of an experiment. Let's see, because I've never done this before. Oh, yeah, content from second camera. Let's try that. Ah, you're seeing down. Let me zoom that in a lot maybe. Okay, I should have done this before. Oh, that's focus. Okay, you're seeing my desktop, I think, right?
Literally.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a little piece that busted in the house. As I tip it on its side, it's a piece of a window, a screen door, essentially. And the screen door has a top half that slides up and down and a bottom half that there's a little too much. Let's see, knock the iris back a little bit on that. There we go. Anyway, so I guess the epiphany in my mind, this has been busted for months. And I've been 3D printing for months, but the things I've been 3D printing have been the stuff I designed. And it, never dawned on me that I could use the 3D printer here to fix things around the house. Maybe that's because I have a 3D printer because my son left it here. And if I had had to buy one, I probably would have come up with the lame excuse, oh, honey, I can use it for fixing all kinds of things around the house. But this is the busted piece, and it's part of well, when it busted, I went out and I bought a thing online, and I didn't measure the dimensions carefully. This is the complete latch assembly that shows how it sticks its tongue out into the door to hold the window from falling down. But this is obviously too big, and it didn't fit the holes. This is the finished part, which is on the door now. When you're inside, the handle's like this, and then you flip it like that, and it goes into the door. And so this part that broke is this here that I'm taking out now. So this is all I 3D printed. The rest of this is, original parts of the door. So I had to design a model for this. I used OpenSCAD because that's all I know. And it was tricky because of the wedge on there, and there's a recess here in the bottom, and then a rounded feature there on the top. Yes, yeah, the iris makes it hard to see that with the lighting I have, and the angle and all that. And the original had very nice rounded corners, which I did not duplicate yet, because I guess doing those rounded things in OpenSCAD is more tedious than than I wanted to do.
I noticed that the original had a pretty thin arm there.
Yes,
and you beefed that up a little bit.
Beefed that up a lot. Yes, exactly. Yeah, you can see the difference there. Yeah, very, very. I'm glad you called that out, Peter, because that's that's the difference between the original and the old. Of course, that's where it busted, right? So, happy ending on the. And I guess this is a slightly earlier. My very first draft. I mean, that was done in like an hour. It didn't fit. But I still think it's important you guys have probably more experience in this than I do, but to have any kind of model that's reasonably close to print it, to see which dimensions are right and which ones aren't, just because the holes are always a little larger or smaller than the calipers show for real life. So that's one thing. The other thing I thought you might be interested in seeing, I had asked on the Slack channel about cleaning the print head. And I found these brushes online and bought them. And these are nice. You twist them, and then the bristles come out, extend like that. So this is brass, and I was able to use the brass holding it up like this towards the bottom of the printer to scrape the last of the cruds off there that Gail's thing couldn't get because it had been like baked on after lots of use. So these come in fiberglass, brass, steel, and nylon, and they're not high quality brushes, but they'll last for the kinds of things I do with them. So that might inspire you to clean something or not. Okay, how do I stop sharing?
Is it like a lead pencil where you can cut off the tip and roll out more?
Yes,
Or-
exactly. Like, see,
Oh.
it's growing like that as I twist the knob here on the back. Yeah, this is
That's
the
nice.
brass one.
It's nice that they're short enough to fit under the head too.
Yeah, they're not, you know, that's the size of my hand. Okay. So Amazon's got them. I can't remember what they're called.
So
Okay.
that makes me think of a possible topic for a future discussion, either on a Tuesday or Thursday, would be things people have done to repair things around the house.
Yes.
I bet there's other examples of that floating around.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the middle of a shower repair project, but yeah, or shower curb, I guess. But yeah.
I saw it on Slack where did you pour the cement like you were going to do?
What was that?
I saw on Slack that you were working on it and you were going to use cement. I just wondered if you'd done the cement pouring.
Oh, well, yeah. So I have lots of pictures, but I don't know if I'm able to share them or whatever. But I put well, it turned out that my suspicion was that the curb was built out of just wood with tile on top of it or whatever. And so I was prepared for a disaster when I undid the tile that was coming apart. And it turned out that whoever built it actually did use the Durarock type stuff. So it wasn't actually as much of a disaster as I thought, but they didn't really seal that part at all. So that's where all the water, once the tiles got broke, the water was going down into it and then ending up in the downstairs. And so I am now getting, the YouTube algorithm is amazing, because apparently if you watch 2 hours of how to tile videos, you will, obviously you want to watch that for the rest of your time on YouTube. And so I'm getting lots of recommendations to how to tile everything under the sun. But yeah, so I watched enough videos that I feel like I'm an expert and I can do pretty much anything. Yeah, so I put down some on top of it. I put actually I just used the thin set mortar to build a base. The other thing that the person who built the curb didn't do was they did not put a sort of an angle on it for the water to run back into the shower. And so I was using the thin set mortar to make the outside a little bit higher than the side on the shower. And then I got the Red Guard latex, pourable latex stuff, and I put that over it, which actually seals the stuff. And then I put a new tile on top of it, basically. But I now, the Red Guard stuff, it's what people use to do the entire like bottom of their shower. So it comes in this bucket that, the stuff should spread out a lot. And I was using it for a significantly smaller area. So what I'm actually looking for is off-label uses for Red Guard, basically. And I'm trying to figure out like, can it be used as a like a plastid dip substitute or anything that would be, fun or wacky or crazy or whatever? Or can we make Red Guard balls or I don't know, whatever, but I haven't figured out anything.
I have a Plastidip alternate use, but I don't have one going the other way.
Yeah. So yeah, but that's I do think, Peter, though, that it's a good idea like that to talk about the things that we repair around the house and stuff like that. Like before I had a 3D printer, a part on my lawnmower broke, and it was a plastic part, and it was like super annoying because like it should have been fairly trivial to fix. And I had all these, like, since I didn't have a 3D printer, or I think it was before I was a member of Workshop 88. I was trying all these little like rubber band and, sticky tape sort of fixes or whatever. And it would usually hold for about 2 mowings and then it would break again or whatever. And then I found out, like, well, if you go on the website, there are places that will sell you the repair part, or sometimes the manufacturer sells it, but sometimes you can order it like from a parts store or whatever. And that turned out to be nice, because then it saved me a lot of time. But
Yeah. I can think of a couple things, and if I put my mind to it, I could probably think of some more, and I'll bet other people have examples. And I think it would be interesting to see maybe what the original part looked like and what the replacement part looked like, and whether the replacement was better than the original. And I think there could be some interesting discussion.
I could probably contribute some baling wire based fixes.
Fit and baling wire.
Yeah.
actually, I have a follow up to Jim. You reminded me, and Peter. I don't know if we talked about it on Tuesday nights or Thursdays, but we did talk one of these times about the repairing the touch lamps.
Oh.
And I did go out and I got the part and I wired it all up and went to test it. And boy, I heard a pop. And after I replaced the light bulb 2 or 3 times, making sure I actually had a working light bulb, it still wasn't working.
So did you read, if it's the same one that I got on Amazon, did you read through the comments to learn that the color coding is not what you would expect? And so if you're just going by the color coding, you might not wire it correctly.
So I actually got it. I got it at a local Ace Hardware.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's the same one, but
probably better that way.
I didn't go by the color coding. I read the instructions.
Oh, okay.
And
you think that would work?
You think it would, right? Okay. And the only thing that I can, and I'm glad that this entire group is here to tell me that I'm probably wrong, but my the thing that I think might have happened was in an effort to be, I guess, more efficient with my reassembly, the wire that you have to like you're supposed to put 3 wires together into one thing or whatever. I cut the one wire that was going to the actual sensor, or the control sensor thing, and then I wired that cut off part to the wire, because I figure, like, well, if they're already connected correctly, like they had been for several years, then I could just connect those two and I'd be good. And there's a part of me that thinks, like, well, if there was a weird, I don't know, short in there that wasn't intended, like that could have been what was causing the problem with it or something. But I don't have I can't convince myself that that electrically that would explain why it would destroy the sensor. But it's the only thing that I can think where I didn't like just, cut everything and then replace everything straight up. So anyway, I decided to cut my losses and get rid of the $30 lamp and not invest in another $10 sensor or whatever.
That's another way to do it.
Yeah. So that was a DIY repair failure, basically.
Yeah, that's the only observation I can make, is that I was quite surprised that if you just look at the color code and you just assume that white is neutral and black is line and yellow is sensor or whatever, that's not what it is. And you have to read through the comments to see what those wires really are. But because that just happened to be the way mine was wired, it matched the comments. So.
Yeah. Well, the colors on the sensor I got didn't match the colors in the lamp or the original at all. So I was not going by colors whatsoever. So yeah.
I thought of a couple of quick follow-ups on the battery episode. I actually followed my own advice, so I'll flip back on another screen share if you don't mind.
Great.
Let's see. I'll go back to this camera, and I'll probably have to refocus. Yeah. All right. This is a larger thing, so I'll zoom out a bit, and then sorry, this is going to be right until I get the focus right. That looks about right. Oops, overshot. So I followed my own advice in that battery thing. I said, don't build your own pack, buy one. And I hunted around until I found 24-volt packs. They're relatively rare. Most are 20, and I needed 24 for this project I'm working on. So I just bought a 24-volt pack for a cobalt drill. And then this guy on, I think this was eBay, makes these power takeoffs. So this fits right on top of the cobalt pack like that. And sort of like Mace was showing, he's got text embossed into the, right into the part, I guess you'd call it. It's cobalt 24-volt max there. And I guess that's his model number or something. And yeah, made in USA. So it's a fairly nice print. I think he even wrote down in there that it's PLA and something else. Yeah. Yeah, eBay and Amazon. So the guy sells these things. And I also needed a 12-volt thing. And so I found for 20 bucks, this is a clone brand, but the form factor was popularized by Bosch. And it's kind of nice because there's the 2 pins for the 12 volts are right here. So it's just 3 18650 cells. You can take the 12 volts off these 2 pins. And then these are control pins for like the temperature thermistor and the voltages between each of the 3 cells. And this is a little, wall wart and charger. It's all set to go. So I'll have to print myself a 3D takeoff for this. I could find one, but this needs to be part of a longer handheld thing. So I didn't want to, this I could just screw onto the side of something, but I needed to print this integrated. So I didn't buy a thing. Anyway, just following up, doing my own advice and buying battery packs and chargers. So I don't have to design my own anymore.
That's very cool. I have a follow-up comment, I guess, to because I went back and watched some of the presentation. And when you were talking about the density, the energy density of the lithium ion versus other things, and actually you were comparing it to gasoline, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, and for purposes of cars and whatever. It reminded me totally of the old, I don't know if they're old, but a few years ago at least, NPR was running these like sponsorship things by one of the railroads, and their little phrase that they would use is like, we move 2,000 tons of freight, 1,000 miles on a cup of diesel fuel or whatever, and like or a gallon or something like that. It was a really small amount or whatever, and like I was just like, oh, that's impossible and blah blah, or they're exaggerating or whatever. And man, I ran the calculations on that, assuming like 35% efficiency of converting the diesel fuel into kinetic energy and stuff like this or whatever. And it turns out, like, if anything, they were being conservative in their estimate by just a tiny bit or whatever. But I was like, wow, it's like spot on. And it's really it is interesting how energy dense the fuel can be, the gasoline fuel. And it's something that I learned it way back in my college chemistry class, but I sometimes you forget it or whatever. But your battery presentation reminded me of that. So
I seem to remember reading that chocolate chip cookies have a higher energy density than explosive than TNT.
Yes.
just that you can get it out of TNT a lot more quickly.
Yes.
They taste better too. Yeah, but with all of these,
You've tried them both, Scott?
yeah, with all the helicopters and the aircraft and the stuff I've flown over the years, LiPo's great. I mean, it's way better than NiCad or nickel metal hydride or alkaline or any of the other chemistries, but it's just, you can't compare to having a tank of fuel still.
Yeah.
So methanol in that case.
Yeah, and nitromethane. When I was a kid, I made some of my own model airplane fuel out of nitromethane and methanol.
Yeah.
Well, but that kind of reminds me of one other thing, going back to what you were saying there, Andrew. Not only is the energy density enormous in diesel and gasoline, but it's also relatively difficult to extract that, or it's kind of like just the right amount of difficulty. Like we all think, because we see movies and TV shows, that if you hit a can of gasoline with a baseball bat, you see this mushroom cloud and destruction for miles around. And it's not that way. You can just have a puddle of gasoline laying there. So you mean standing in a puddle of gasoline, and it won't hurt you unless a match comes along. And even if a match does come along to a puddle of gasoline, it just burns until the puddle is gone. It doesn't explode. It doesn't, send people flying, right? So in order to extract the mechanical energy from a cup of diesel fuel, you need this fairly complex mechanical engine with coolant systems and all this kind of crap, fuel injectors, on and on.
The right oxygen mixture.
Exactly. The stoichiometry, it really matters.
I don't want to say how old it is. I've got some very old fuel that I was debating whether to get rid of or to use, and I thought, well, it's got to be bad. And I popped open a gallon, and there, I don't know if anyone who does radio controlled stuff, it's double sealed, but I just figured it would leach out over years. You can't keep helium in a helium balloon for years. So I poured, I want to say, half an ounce into a metal glass and lit it in my shop. And I knew it wasn't going to explode or anything, but wow, did that burn for a long time. And it was that classic science experiment where you just had the flame that would have been perfectly flat at where the oxygen and the fuel air mixture was perfect, except for the convection of the heat that was actually there. So it was needed. I think it burned close to white. It wasn't that orangey flame either, but boy, that burned a long time. I could have used a lot less.
Yeah, just a few drops. Yeah.
For all the YouTubers out there, don't try this at home, kids.
Yeah.
Well, kind of surprising. One of those for me was acetone smoothing of 3D prints, and people are taking a coffee can and putting acetone in it and putting it on a heater, and then using the vapor to smooth prints. What the hell? That's a terribly dangerous thing. And no, it's not. The vapor is dense and it stays in there. And the worst that's going to happen is maybe it's going to catch fire and you plop something over the can. But it was just interesting, the same kind of argument that no, you're not going to get explosions and horrible things happening. Maybe you get a flame, but that's about it. It was just kind of strange to look at somebody putting an open container of acetone on an electric hot plate or something. But yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, I used about half a gallon of acetone to remove the metal coating from videotapes to make ferrofluid. And I tried to get rid of the acetone. I tried to burn some of it off. I couldn't even get it lit. Like, I've been handling this stuff like it's TNT and
What were you going to do with ferrofluid?
What do you do without ferrofluid? How do you get by?
I have some old floppy disks you can develop. The magnetic domains are big enough. I'm sure you could see them.
Floppy disks are good infrared filters.
Are they? Okay, jeez.
Good's a stretch. But yeah, exposed film leaders are way better. But yeah. Yeah, I made bad ferrofluid. So it was ferromagnetic and it did, do some of the parlor tricks, but it was I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay. I'd never heard of making your own. Okay. So did you put it like on a pulsating field and a magnetic, with like audio tones and all that kind of stuff, or were you?
Yeah, but I didn't get the response that I was looking for. So yeah. So Paul, I noticed behind you, is that a mantle bulb?
Yes, it is.
Nice.
Did you print that?
I thought I'd keep in with the stories.
To be honest with you, for a long time, I thought it was something macrame or made with rope. But yeah, those are pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's done by a guy named Ryan Bliss.
Yeah.
And he does some pretty super stuff.
Yeah, it's cool.
What is the actual scale of that? Since that's a background, I don't know if I'm looking at something that's 5 inches or 5 feet.
Well, it's 1280 by 1024.
It's
Oh, so it doesn't exist in real life. It's just a.
well, it has a finite volume and an infinite surface area.
So it's not. I assumed it was an object, but just not really there behind you.
Someone, hold on a second. Someone quite recently figured out a way to formulate a 3-dimensional Mandelbrot type calculation, and that's what that is. So it's a complex. I think it's very similar to the Mandelbrot, but they use quaternion, and they're doing like 2 angles.
Yeah, Ryan does some pretty good stuff.
I mean, if you like the Mandelbrot stuff at all, and not just my Atari Mandelbrot, I mean the good stuff too. The zoom ins on the Mandel bulbs they're 3-dimensional and infinitely complicated surfaces. Yeah, neat stuff.
Digital blasphemy. Site.
Very cool.
I suppose at this point I could talk a little bit about what I'm doing. My printer, I went and I bought a new hot end for it. I was running the standard Creality hot end, and well, it wasn't quite as good as I wanted it. So I picked up an ED3 V6, and it's a good 50% bigger. Nice cooling vents. And then I made the mistake of ordering the 24-bit kit, a 24-volt kit over the 10-volt kit, 12-volt kit. So now I'm waiting for the 12-volt heater to come to fix that little thing. The rewiring, it's been a real challenge. But I'm hoping it'll give me some better, I'm trying to get some better adhesion on a round by round level. I'm thinking this will get me there.
That doesn't change the filament size at all, does it?
Any filament size you want.
Oh, really? I got some 3mm filament I'd like to get rid of. Can you use it? No? Okay.
Sorry, I was muted. I said that E3D is a solid hot end. That's what's in the Prusa printers, and once you get that in, you're not going to have any issues at all.
Yeah, that's I heard that, and that's why I went with it.
the E3D knockoffs that I got from AliExpress, that they're visibly different, and the heat block's smaller, the quality of the heat break's different. It requires some additional care to get them to work. But
So I have to ask the newbie question. What does E3D stand for?
it's the company name.
Oh, I see. So the Prusa printer I have doesn't have a hot end made by Prusa? It's made by E3D? Oh,
E3D.
cool.
Well, I think you got an MK3.
Yeah.
It's E3D. Physically machining a hot end is a different specialty.
I see. And does that include the stepper motor that drives the extruder and all that kind of stuff, or is it just the block and the the heat block and the nozzle and the
Not the driver. It's the heat sink, the heat break, the heat block, the heater, and the thermistor. It's typically the hot end. Yeah. Now, Christine's printer, the MK3, and yours, you've got the dual gear drive. What's that called?
Bondtech.
Bondtech. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, very, very rarely ever slips. And wow, can it drive filament? I normally run my Prusa 200%.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
That'd be
Yeah,
nice.
when I was doing headbands for face shields, I was running, I could do the whole print in 200%. Sometimes I could get up to about 250.
Wow. And what size nozzle would you use?
It's literally the same nozzle that I bought it, that
Hmm.
came with it. I've never even replaced the nozzle on it.
Wow.
I do run exclusively PETG, and so I don't have a lot of temperature issues. And I have burned through a couple of beds,
Really?
the spring steel things, because I was just printing so much.
Mm.
I do like my Prusa.
Anyone else?
5-axis Prusa.
All right. Anybody else have anything they wanted to share?
Well, a follow-up on the bait I put in the battery talk also. YouTube didn't take the bait on either the text to speech or speech to text, I guess, or whatever it be, text to voice. So they didn't read the images off my slides, and they didn't read my voice.
Not yet.
Did you check the subtitles?
I didn't.
So
What do you mean?
that was the thing that I thought was when I was searching for stuff on YouTube, I wanted to search the subtitles for specific things, and that's not at least in the search syntax for YouTube. So I don't know that they don't do that, but so I wonder if, because they use speech to text, I wonder if they caught the words, not off the
Could
screen,
be.
but they didn't. You can't search them.
Yeah, or might still be a thing. And I tried to choose words that were unambiguous, but unusual, like nucleotide.
Yes, you did.
I can remember being I was pedaling my bike somewhere, and I heard a podcast story about monozygotic twins, and I made myself a note. I asked Siri to make me a note about monozygotic twins, and I was shocked that it got the word monozygotic correct. And then it dawned on me, once you get to monozy, there aren't a lot of endings. So the kind of the longer the word, in many ways, the easier it is for text to speech, because they don't vary at the end. They're just giant words that are very unique in their entirety, I guess.
I only recently discovered that I'd had some trouble with the voice to text on both iPhone and Android, and it only recently did I figure out that it's correlated with the fan that I use in here. So if there's background noise, it really challenges the system.
Mm.
Well, and I hope Peter can confirm that my mic isn't making the noise it made before.
I can confirm that. It sounds great.
Wonderful, thank you.
At least I assume you've turned off the noise cancellation, and
I have.
And
I have.
It
Although
sounds
the noise cancellation didn't ruin my audio as badly as I thought it would. I was afraid that it would do damage, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, it sounds great now.
Okay. Thanks for flagging it.
That was a you got a new adapter. Was that the deal?
Yeah, it was XLR to USB.
Yeah.
The old one just had a plastic case, and it was sitting near two different Wi-Fi devices, and I think the Wi-Fi was just blasting in through that plastic case.
Hmm. Yep. Cool.
That's it for me.
All right. Well, if we have nothing else to talk about or present, I'll just remind everyone that's still watching to like, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, like us on Twitter. Is that how it works? I don't remember. No. Follow us on all the things, the socials, and be looking for Scott is down that way in my window. Be looking for the Hackaday thing. There you go. And the Hackaday contest entry, and consider supporting us on Patreon. We appreciate all you who are watching. See you next time.